What's going on, guys? It's your boy Burrow77 coming back to you with another college hoops show. This time we are focusing on the Sweet 16. We are deep into the tournament. There's only 16 teams left. That means there's 8 games over 2 days starting at 7:09 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, March 28th. We have seen some great basketball so far this tournament. We've seen some awesome upsets. And then in the round of 32, we saw the chalk kind of take over and prevail. Will it be the same in the round of 16, or do some of these underdogs have the legs to run it out? Without any further ado, we're going to jump right into it with Clemson versus Arizona. This one's taking place on Thursday, the 28th in Los Angeles. It's the first game of the night, tipping off at 7:09 p.m. Eastern on CBS. And I'm leaning Clemson plus the points here. I think this is a really big number. I think that if this walks out to 8, I'll probably pull the trigger. But both of these teams, in my opinion, are a little bit fraudulent. I'm not necessarily buying into Clemson here. I think they're a little bit frauds, but they're playing good basketball at the right time. The ACC is tough competition, as we've seen throughout the tournament. While ACC teams have been doubted, they continue to win their games. The pace of play here is going to be a big issue. Arizona loves to run and play in transition. They want to play fast the entire game, whereas Clemson wants to put on the brakes and slow it down a little bit offensively, and that helps them get into their defensive sets as well. A couple of the key players to watch here on Clemson are PJ Hall, who fouled out last game and needs to stay out of foul trouble and keep himself on the floor for Clemson. He is a major shot maker and he contributes a ton on the defensive glass. So PJ Hall getting in foul trouble again and having his minutes limited because of foul trouble is a problem. Next up for Clemson, we have Ian Schieffelin. Schieffelin has the best percentage for three-pointers on Clemson, but he doesn't take a ton of them. He's a stretch 4 that only will put up 1 or 2 a game, but he's knocking them down when he takes them at almost a 50% clip. So I think in order for Clemson to keep this game close, Schieffelin is going to need to make his 1 or 2 threes. Schieffelin is also a major presence on both ends of the floor for the glass. He's one of Clemson's best rebounders, and he absolutely has to be out there if they're going to stand any chance, and they are going to need to rebound like their hair's on fire. Clemson will also need to continue taking care of the basketball, which they haven't done a particularly good job of all season. Clemson maintaining control of the basketball and not having bad turnovers is certainly a key to the Tigers' success here. The battle on the glass is going to be very big as Zona is more dominant at both ends of the floor. Free throws are going to be a major problem here for Zona because they struggle from the line, and Clemson is the number 8 team in the nation, according to KenPom, at converting their free throws into points when you put them on the line. Something Clemson will need to focus on is making sure that when they foul Arizona, they are doing it with different players so nobody accumulates too many fouls. And getting Arizona to the stripe is not a bad call. You don't want to give them and ones, and you still don't want to foul three-point shooters. But if you're Clemson, you have no problem with Arizona living at the free throw line all day because of how poor they convert those into points. The location on this one is important because it is in LA, so it is a short trip for Zona fans and Zona supporters. That said, Clemson travels well and has alumni with deep pockets, so I won't be surprised if this venue is pretty balanced. But I have a feeling that the crowd is going to lean Zona here and give more energy for Zona. I'm not going to spend too much time on the key offensive contributors for Zona, who are Caleb Love and Kashid Johnson. You guys should know the names by now. The big name I'm going to focus here is on Oumir Ballo, who is Arizona's worst free throw shooter. And this is the guy you're going to want to foul if you're Clemson in late game situations or in places where you can still get Zona on 1-and-1s, because missing the front end of a 1-and-1 is a turnover. Ballo is a 50% on the season shooter from the charity stripe. So he's the guy you want to target. He's their center. He's not very good as a big man at knocking them down from the stripe. So this is the guy you're going to want to put there as often as possible if you're Clemson. Ultimately, I think Zona ends up winning this match and continuing to on to the Elite Eight, but I think this number is pretty big, and I think that this might be a spot that if you like Clemson, you can talk yourself into backing them here. For me, it's just a lean. I haven't put any action down on this game as of yet, and I'm not sure that I'm going to take a side in this one. Keeping things right on moving into SDSU versus UConn. This is a rematch of last year's title game. This is taking place on Thursday in Boston at 7:39 p.m. on TBS. This is the second game of the day tipping off. I lean UConn minus the 11 here. I don't think a ton has changed, and I don't have a ton to say about this game. Neither team is in a particular hurry to push the pace here. Both teams should get to the stripe a fair amount, but they're about even at converting their points in or their attempts into points from the free throw line. The location here being in Boston is obviously a massive advantage for UConn and UConn fans when it comes to travel. The biggest difference between last year's SDSU team and this year's SDSU team is this year's SDSU team stinks from three, but they will likely need a lot more production than they've been able to get all season in order to keep this game and this number close. Again, I can't say it enough. Every time I watch UConn, the eye test tells me they're the best team in the country. I know nobody's run it back-to-back since Florida in 07, but I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. It's UConn. I think they cover the number. I think that they're going to dominate this tournament. I think they're going to cover every number on their way to another back-to-back champion, and we're going to see our first back-to-back champion since Florida. That said, we'll keep things moving right into Bama versus UNC. This is Thursday night in LA. So no advantage for either team travel-wise. It's actually kind of garbage for both clubs. Both teams are on the East Coast, so the 9:30 tip-off probably pisses off all their fans, but hey, you should be adjusted to the time. They've probably flown out there to this gym already and started practicing. I have money down on this one. I took UNC right as it came out at minus 3.5. I had a 25% boost left over, so I got a little bit of plus money on this. I'm fine with taking this at UNC minus 3.5 still and laying some juice, or taking the -4 at the -110 that's available at pretty much every shop. UNC has the ability to go shot for shot with Bama and play 105 to 116 game or something like that. But UNC's defense is able to come up with stops and is much better at defending. So I think that when they have the opportunity, you will see them come up with key stops, whereas Bama will struggle to stop anything going to the rim. RJ Davis and Armando Bacot are the two key players here for UNC. Bacot is going to need to stay out of foul trouble, especially when it comes to Sears driving the lane. Sears is an elite guy at drawing contact. There are people who aren't a fan of Bama and aren't a fan of Sears who will call him a foul baiter. That holds a little bit of merit. He is very good at getting the ref's attention and drawing contact and getting to the stripe where he knocks him down at a good clip. Such is life in the game of basketball. I think that UNC will do a good job at rotating and keeping Bacot in the game because they have been much better at it recently. The pace of play here is going to be Bama standing on the throttle wide open the entire match. They love to play fast. They love to hit transition threes. When it's not open, they put the ball on the floor and they drive the rim. Both of these teams are comfortable having a lot of possessions and shot volume, but UNC is the team who's better equipped to adjust to various paces of basketball, whereas Alabama only knows how to play one way, and that's wide open. The three ball is going to be a major factor here because Bama is going to chuck up a ton of threes. Again, Nate Oates' ball, he loves to hit the transition three. He screams at his players. He'll take people off the floor if they turn down an open shot. He gets these guys kind of NBA ready when it comes to the style and position of shot selection. If the three ball is falling, UNC will need to make some threes of their own just to keep pace. But I think that UNC does a really good job at putting the ball on the floor, going to the paint, drawing contact, and getting to the rim so that they can pick up threes the old-fashioned way as well. One thing I think it is important to note here is Alabama does have the deeper bench. So if this game gets into heavy fouls and we see a ton of free throws being shot, that means that North Carolina is going to struggle with their bench and their depth once starters start picking up 3, 4, and 5 fouls and fouling out. If this game heads to overtime for some reason, I think the momentum shifts and kind of favors Bama there, who has a deeper bench. But UNC's been here a lot. They have a ton more upperclassmen that have more tournament experience. And I think that that experience is going to help lead UNC deeper into this tournament and make it past Bama into the Elite Eight. Keeping things moving right on into the late game, U of I is taking on Iowa State. This one is happening in Boston as well on Thursday night at 10:09 p.m. on TBS. U of I like them on the money line here. I think that this number is good at the +1.5 or +2 if you want to take the spread. Personally, I think I'm just going to play the money line with a boost in, take my chances. This is going to be the offense versus defensive battle. Iowa State is known for their defensive prowess, and defense does travel in the tournament. But one big thing that you need to be able to do in the tournament is create your own shot. U of I can do that, and they have a guy in Terrence Shannon who is going to be able to create his own shot and kind of be the guy who's going to carry the load. I think Shannon's going to need to show out here. I think that his length and U of I's length collectively is going to help them beat Iowa State. U of I is the number 8 team in the nation when it comes to height or being the tallest on the floor. It's not that Iowa State is particularly short. They're just right around the average here. So I think that U of I's length gives them a little bit of help. Plus their assist to shot making ratio here is really good. I like how they distribute the ball. U of I also is the older, more experienced team. They have more upperclassmen, and I do tend to rely on seniors a lot more when we get this deep into the tournament. Neither team goes to their bench much, and it's going to be a lot of the same starting 5 out there for both squads. I think U of I just has a more balanced attack and is comfortable doing different things offensively. They can shoot the 3. They use the 2-point shot effectively. They drive the rim. They create contact, and they go to the free throw line. And Iowa State simply just doesn't put up that many 3s and really relies on their 2-point shooting. U of I will have a major edge here at getting to the free throw stripe, and they have a major edge at converting free throws into buckets. Iowa State has a big problem converting free throws into points, so I give a major edge to U of I from the stripe here tonight. U of I should also have a rebounding edge at both ends of the floor here. They rebound extremely well on the offensive and defensive glass. So combine that with their free throws and their ability to create their own shot. That's why I'm going to back U of I here to advance over Iowa State. Keeping things moving into one of the best games on the slate, in my opinion. This is happening Friday in Dallas for a 7:09 p.m. tip-off on CBS. NC State is kind of the Cinderella here in this Sweet 16, but if you've been watching NC State, you know that they are very good, have a lot of skill, and have gotten hot at the right time. Marquette made it through a couple of difficult games and has been able to get Tyler Kolik some extra rest. And we should see a healthier, more fit Kolik, who should be a major contributor here for Marquette. NC State, talk about schedule congestion. They had to win out the ACC tournament in order just to be here. And then they won back-to-back games. So they've had a major run of 7 games in like 9 days. So an extended rest here is only going to help NC State out as well. This team is not running on pure adrenaline in the Cinderella March Madness story. This is a quality basketball team that should give Marquette problems. And the reason they're going to give Marquette problems is because they are super sound defensively and they make it difficult to go to the paint. DJ Burns is a massive problem down there, along with Diarra, who can rebound extremely well. Burns guards well. And then on the offensive end, he is a massive problem because for a big man in the post, he has a ton of skill with both hands. He is comfortable going up with the left and the right off of his post moves. So if you have to double him, he feeds on his ability to find the open man and create assists as well, which is always a problem for any college basketball team. When you're able to finish with both your left and right hand equally as well, that's going to create a lot of situations where you're going to want to double a guy like Burns, who's a massive body and can use his physicality to shrug you off and then create excellent post moves where he has good touch around the rim. So the problem there is that he also is good at assisting and finding the open man when you double him, leaving shooters open. In my opinion, Marquette is going to need to get hot from three and have great perimeter shooting tonight in order to limit what Yerrrrrrrrrr and Burns bring in the post. That means that Cam Jones is going to be potentially one of the most important players on the floor for Marquette. Cam Jones is an excellent outside and spot-up shooter, and he's going to need to be wet from three tonight. In combination with Tyler Kolek, who has a great assist ratio and is a super sick dime man for Marquette, his ability to distribute the ball and find the open man is going to be key here. And Kolek is going to need to put the ball on the floor, and he's going to need to drive in and test Burns and try and get Burns and Yerrrrrrrrr into some foul trouble early. The Burns-Yerrrrrrr combo is going to be a problem for Marquette's best player, who is Ighodaro. Ighodaro is awesome in the post. He has a good touch. He's tall, but NC State matches up really well down low in the paint, and Ighodaro is going to have to work on his mid-range game and his distribution here if Marquette wants to stand a chance. He's also going to have to put the ball in the bucket and make himself a threat, because if he's not able to have any sort of production, then NC State's going to sag off him and let him kind of do whatever it is he can do if he's cold. This Marquette team is still on the younger side, even though they have stuck together through last season. They have tournament experience. They have been here before. And you know that this team wants more, and it means a ton to this Marquette squad because they stayed together through last season. So I do give them an extra bump, even though NC State is the more experienced team with more seniors and upperclassmen. One advantage Marquette has is they have gotten used to going to their bench more since they lost their six-man for the season back in late December, early January. So Marquette has the deeper bench and is prepared to play a longer, more physical game. However, NC State has a major edge at getting to the free throw line and converting their free throws into points. NC State is the far superior team when it comes to drawing contact and then turning that contact into three-point possessions. Marquette's biggest weakness has always been the glass, and that's a problem here because NC State love to rebound. They have a major edge on both ends of the floor when it comes to the glass, with Burns and Yerrrrrrrr out there. Again, Ighodaro is going to have to pick it up a ton. He's going to need to do a lot more than make shots here. He's going to need to make life hell in the paint, and he's going to need to put in the effort on the glass tonight, which we just haven't seen from him in this Marquette squad all season. I'm leaning on NC State in the points here. I really like getting this number at +6.5. That's outside the key number of 6, which is 2 full three-point possessions, which is where Marquette is going to need to knock them down from, especially if they're down and especially if it's late in the game and this one's tight. Give me the Wolfpack and the points, and let's keep it moving. Where we keep it moving to is Gonzaga versus Purdue. This is taking place Friday night in Detroit, tipping off at 7:39 p.m. over on TBS. I lean Gonzaga +5.5 here, and it's because I have them in my bracket. Honestly, I don't know if I'm going to play this game on the total, if I'm going to play this on the spread, if I'm going to even have a play for this game, because Purdue does look dangerous. They've figured out their perimeter shooting. Edey looks better. This Purdue team, I think, is a little overhated and underrated, just like Nick said when we did the Overreaction Monday show. Purdue plays a much more traditional college basketball offense, whereas Gonzaga does play the more pro style and has a little bit more positionless basketball, which is a problem when you have a guy who is a true five like Edey and is able to do the things he's able to do. Gonzaga's going to need to be hot with their perimeter shooting to avoid Edey. Gonzaga is going to need to make their outside shots here, and they're going to need to do it at a high clip to stay alive. Gonzaga is going to need to keep Purdue off of the free throw line. Purdue is elite at drawing contact. They are the number 9 team in the country at getting to the free throw line. Purdue doesn't always convert them into points, though. They're just bang average when it comes to shooting free throws. Gonzaga's kind of poor from the stripe themselves, so I always have a tough time backing poor free throw shooting teams in the tournament. And Purdue's just going to be able to out-rebound Gonzaga at both ends of the floor. Purdue is just far superior when it comes to rebounding. So Gonzaga's going to need to put in a ton of effort and go after every ball like their tournament lives depend on it, because it really does. This one for me is a much less interesting game than a lot of others on the slate. So I'm going to leave it there without giving you guys a strong play, because I don't know if I'm going to plunk my own money down on this one. And we'll just pick it up with Duke versus Houston. This is, again, taking place on Friday in Dallas, 9:30, 9 p.m. tip-off over on CBS. I like Duke here, and I like them plus the points or on the money line. I think that Houston, that wasn't an aberration against Texas A&M. The blueprint on Houston and how to beat them is out. I think we've seen that. You cannot put a team at the stripe 40 times in a game. A&M got a lot of contact. They went to the stripe a ton. They knocked down their free throws, and Houston struggled from the free throw line all night. And you cannot put a team at the stripe 40 times and expect to come out with miracle overtime wins every game. And I just don't believe that a team that shoots sub 70% from the free throw line is capable of winning a national championship, period. Both of these teams are elite at perimeter shooting, and they're going to shoot a ton of threes. They both defend the perimeter super well. One advantage Duke has is by completely blowing the doors off of JMU. They only ran Filipowski 15 minutes, so he should be plenty rested and ready for this match. Also for Duke, Jeremy Roach is a complete problem. He's going to go to the NBA. He's going to give every team left in the tournament massive problems. And this is kind of the Jeremy Roach blow-up story here. I think Houston players, especially Sheed, are going to be completely gassed. They played him all 45, 50 minutes of that overtime game. He never left the floor. That's a ton of minutes. Yes, I do know that there is a pretty decent size amount of rest here between games, but that is a ton of minutes for any player to rack up. Houston really leaned on their starting three and everybody who was left after guys fouled out. So this Houston team is going to be plenty gassed, and I think Duke can kind of feast here on that. Duke also knows that they are going to need to come down with a ton of rebounds here and rebound like their hair's on fire. They are very successful at both ends of the floor, whereas Houston just isn't great and doesn't put in a ton of effort on the defensive glass. So if Duke is able to out-rebound Houston, if they're able to get to the line and convert their free throws into points, and they have good perimeter shooting, and they foul Houston a bunch, and they make Houston earn their points from the free throw line, I think Duke is very live here on the money line. I'm going to go ahead and make the recommendation to take the points, but this is one that I think is very winnable, and I have Duke advancing in one of my brackets. So I'm going to probably play Duke on the money line here. If not for a full half unit, I'm going to use a boost, and I'm going to take the shot on the dogs. Keeping it moving into one of my favorite games of the night, that is Creighton versus Tennessee. I know Creighton has problems, but I'm a sucker for Big East basketball, and I'm a big East guy. And you guys already know I like the Creighton Blue Jays. It goes without saying. If you've watched my content all year since January 1st, you guys know I have a soft spot for Creighton, and I think they're a very quality team. This one is tipping off on Friday night at 10:09 p.m. on TBS. This game is in Detroit, so no huge advantage in travel or fans for either team. You know I'm taking Creighton. You know I like the +3, and I'm probably going to sprinkle the money line as well. Trey Alexander and Baylor Shireman are an elite guard combo who work excellent with Kalkbrenner, the big 7'1" center in the post. Kalkbrenner is not your traditional college big man. He is very good at boxing out, but he's not an excellent rebounder or a rim protector. He is going to bring you different things. He has a lot of offensive prowess. He has good touch around the glass. He can post you up. He's going to create problems when it comes to boxing out. And what he's going to try and do is move your biggest guy and your biggest problem away from the rim with his box out. And then he is going to let Baylor Shireman, who is a very tall and skilled rebounder, come in and clean up the glass here. Perimeter shooting is going to be key here because Tennessee is ice cold. I think they were like 13% from three the other night versus Texas, and Tennessee doesn't have great perimeter shooting, whereas Creighton is absolutely elite. They're top 15 in the nation when it comes to shooting beyond the arc. Again, Baylor Shireman is a guy we're going to talk about a lot. His rebounds are worth a look. His points are always worth a look. He gets contact, drive into the lane. He knocks down his free throws, and he comes in clutch. He's got a shooter's mentality. He can brick 4 or 5 threes, but everybody knows that when they need a big three, they can kick it out to Shireman, and he's not going to hesitate to shoot. Shireman also has the advantage of being a lefty, which always creates problems in college. They don't necessarily know how to guard lefty shooters. And that's a problematic spot on the floor for a team that probably doesn't practice elite left-handed shooting. And they probably don't practice it much because it's very difficult to replicate. If you don't have an elite left-handed three-point or distance shooter or spot-up shooter from your team, it's going to be hard to replicate that in practice. Free throws are going to be key here. Both of these teams are completely elite at guarding people vertically and not allowing other teams to get to the free throw line for easy baskets, because that's what they are. They are easy baskets for both of these squads. They're completely lights out. They're top 25 in the country from knocking down points at the free throw line. So I don't think we're going to see a ton of fouls, and I don't think we're going to see a lot of freebies in this one. Two biggest problems here for Creighton. You probably saw it in the UConn game. It's going to be rebounding on the offensive glass in particular, and it's going to be their ball security issues. Tennessee is a lot better at turning people over, and they like to pick people's pockets and create turnovers, and Creighton has ball security issues that might give them problems here. Despite all of Creighton's flaws, I do think that they are a very good team, and you can't argue with a team that can create their own shot and get hot from distance like this against a Tennessee team whose offense really only runs through one guy. They rely on their defense extremely heavily, and they don't shoot well from the perimeter, and they don't create their own shot well. So I like backing guys who can create their own shot, even though I know defense travels and it is very important. There still has yet to be a team that I am convinced has won the NCAA tournament on the back of defense alone. You need to be able to create your own shot. I wanted to keep this video quick, so I don't have a final bet slide for you, but I will let you know right off the rip. I have money down on UNC minus 3.5. I have money down on Illinois money line, and I have money down on Creighton money line. Those are the 3 bets I have in pocket as of right now. And the reason I don't have the final slide is because we had some pretty tough storms up here in Michigan. I lost some power, which really cut into the front half of my day. So that's why there's no recap slide. I apologize. I wanted to get this video out to you in a timely fashion. I think we have some great matchups here in the Sweet 16. I think that NC State has a very legit possibility of being a bracket ruiner and upsetting some people here. Other than that, I don't think that there's a lot of games you could call anything other than chalk. You know, 2s versus 3s and having 3s advance, to me, that's still pretty chalk. You know, 1s advancing over 5s or 4s, that's not a surprise there. So it'll be interesting. I think that the college landscape has definitely leveled. I think we got a lot of upsets, especially in the round of 64. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you all. please remember to like and subscribe. I will be bringing you another video for the Final Four and the championship game. I will not have time to make a video between the Sweet 16's finish and the Elite Eight. If you want to check out any of my futures positions, all of those videos are available here as well. We only have 4 college basketball games left this season, so enjoy them while you can. Until next time, that has been Talking Hoops with Oaks. I appreciate you all. That's it. Oaks out. Doses.